What's going on, guys? It's Adam P and welcome back. I've never ever seen anything like this in all of my years supporting Newcastle United. I've never seen a transfer saga quite like this one. Despite Isak doing everything in his power to leave our football club this summer, despite Liverpool lurking around in the background waiting for an opportunity to pounce, Newcastle is now becoming increasingly likely and confident that they can keep a hold of Alexander Isak this summer. What on earth? So we're here on this video to react to Liverpool fans and of course to just take in everything and to be able to explain the full situation, what's going to happen next, and just to get to the bottom of this. Now, of course, for those of you who aren't subscribed, make sure to get down there and do so. Join the journey and join the 40% of you watching over the past 28 days who are already subscribed to this channel. Make sure to get involved with the community, enjoy yourselves, and just tag along and stay updated because this saga is certainly not over. Liverpool fans, I get it. I get your frustrations, but you have to pay up the £150 million. You either pay up the money or you move on. None of this lowballing crap. None of this £110 million bid that you offered last week. That's not going to cut it. It has to be £150 million or we get the replacements in, which hasn't currently happened. So those things have to happen first. Otherwise, he's not going anywhere.
Newcastle owners are furious of the way Liverpool have behaved this summer. They were baffled with their initial £110 million bid, which was nowhere near the club's valuation of £150. So let's talk about this a little bit, shall we? Furious at the way Liverpool have behaved. And how exactly is that? How exactly is that, my petulant little friends? By making a British record transfer bid for your striker once and then walking away? That's behaving what? That's how football works, you morons. That's how this happens.
No, that is not how this happened. We have said all summer long, Alexander Isak is not for sale. Of course, then the player has went out of his way to make it possible that he is for sale. And then Newcastle has stuck with the £150 million valuation of a player. For Liverpool to come in with £110 million last week was an insulting bid. I'm not having this crap about it being a British transfer record. We said £150 million. You have lowballed us by £40 million. We're talking nearly 33% of our valuation is not there. Liverpool have purposely went in with a bid that they knew was going to be rejected. Why did they do that? They did that simply because they knew behind the scenes that was going to rattle Newcastle. They knew behind the scenes Isak was going to play up. And they knew behind the scenes that they were going to try and get the best possible outcome from the situation by getting Isak on a cheap valuation. You have clearly been speaking to the player for a long time. There is no way his agent and the player would have gained confidence like this and would have acted and behaved like this behind the scenes without some encouragement from Liverpool. And we aren't talking a player just wanting out of a football club. We are talking a player who has waited until Newcastle was on the Asia tour before doing his own thing, flying out to Spain, training with a different football club at Real Sociedad, essentially going on strike, refusing to tell Eddie Howe and the players where he was, refusing to tell the club where he is, and just doing everything in his power alongside his agent to force his way out of Newcastle. That's not a normal stance for a player to make during an active transfer. That is a player who is clearly confident to challenge the public investment fund, by the way, to challenge our Saudi Arabian ownership, who you are talking have hundreds of billions of pounds just sitting there in their stocks because, of course, they can't spend that in Newcastle United because of the PSR laws. You are talking to some of the wealthiest individuals on this planet. Isak has took on straight up because he was confident that a Liverpool move was going to happen and that Liverpool were going to approach him at some point.
So let's put this right. You need to start eating some humble pie and realising that you are Newcastle. You aren't Liverpool. You aren't Manchester United. You are Newcastle.
Oh, not this rubbish again. I don't care if we are Newcastle United and I don't care if you are Liverpool. Alexander Isak is a contracted Newcastle United player for 3 more years, which means that for the next 36 months, he is not allowed to play for a different football club. It does not matter if he wants to go to Liverpool. He is a Newcastle United player and he did not respect that fact. I've got no issue. Newcastle United has no issue with selling the player. If Isak wanted to go this summer, he could have done it the legit way. Start the transfer window, let Newcastle know, I want to go to Liverpool. If he did that at the start of the transfer window and then Liverpool signed Isak before the Ekitike stuff, that would have happened. Liverpool would have pumped good money down on Isak. If you offered Liverpool now at the start of the window, Ekitike or Isak, they would have said Isak. And I'm willing to bet Liverpool at the start of the window would have been prepared to spend that £150 million. They would have done it. They would have put serious money down on Isak because that's a player they do want to sign. But because he did this after the Ekitike stuff and he did this right in the middle of the transfer window and his behaviour that he has conducted with his agent, why would Newcastle sell him to Liverpool? Why would we do it? And I'm not just saying this for a Newcastle-Liverpool thing. Look at it in our point of view. Our ownership's got a massive project. This is still a project that is trying to gain levels. This is still a project that's trying to attract players. How does our project look if Isak goes to Liverpool? It will look so bad. Our project will look incredibly weak and players would not want to join that project because our best player has just went somewhere else, and the way he's behaved as well, he would have forced to move to Liverpool and he would have took control of the situation himself. We can't allow that. We can't allow that kind of behaviour in Newcastle United. And for the sake of our project, we can't allow a player to make a move like that. It's simply unacceptable.
And your owners, as you say, are furious at the way Liverpool have behaved. So furious, they went and gave us £53 million for Darwin Núñez. That'll teach us. That's taught us a lesson. You know, teaching us a lesson there by taking Darwin off our hands. Well done. We've learned our lesson on that one, Newcastle.
Now, to be fair, Anfield Agenda is correct on that. I actually made that point. The Public Investment Fund, of course, owns different football clubs. So the fact that they gave Liverpool £53 million for, in essence, one of their bargain bin players, Darwin Núñez. He's a good player, by the way, Darwin Núñez. But of course, for Liverpool, a player they just wanted to get rid of. So the fact that our own ownership with a different football club has then bought Darwin Núñez, basically giving Liverpool all the funds they need to potentially go on for Isak. Like, that's not a beneficial sale for Newcastle United, but it's our own ownership, of course, doing it in the best interest of the Saudi League. I think that is fair criticism, and of course, you've got a Liverpool fan using that against us. And to be honest, I actually think that is a fair point, even though all video long he has been incredibly negative and biased towards Newcastle. Stop with the bias. I know you're called Anfield Agenda, but stop with the agenda. Liverpool and Isak, I would say, have thrown the kitchen sink at Newcastle this summer. They haven't. They've thrown the entire kitchen at Newcastle this summer. And still, as things stand, have been unable to ploy Isak out in Newcastle. Newcastle have continued to stay firm and they've continued to stay put, shrugging their shoulders and going, no, it's not happening.
If there's lessons being taught here, I think it might be us saying, you could have had Ekitike, but you thought you were Billy Big Bollocks, and now we have him, and we will end up with Alexander Isak. You know it, I know it, he knows it, Hell knows it, your board knows it, and the rest of you fans need to wake up and realise it is going to happen.
That there is the problem Liverpool has had all summer long. That attitude, that mentality, and that level of self-entitlement. I wouldn't just say this is amongst fans. I almost feel like it's amongst the football clubs as well. Liverpool has walked up to Newcastle during this Alexander Isak situation. It's almost like, well, we are Liverpool, you are Newcastle. We're going to pop in and take Alexander Isak whether you like it or not. And that attitude is exactly why Liverpool is currently not in the race to sign him. If that £110 million bid last week, if Liverpool were actually serious and had put, let's say, 135 to 140 million pounds as their initial first bid, then Newcastle would have been sweating. Then Isak would have been able to do even more because Liverpool has shown not just interest, but real interest to sign Isak. That first bid was crucial. And the fact that it was £110 million was a crucial mistake from them. I say again, I don't think Isak is a essential sign for Liverpool this summer. I think it is a luxury signing. They need a centre-half. They've already got an incredible attack. They don't need to sign Isak this summer. I reckon they'll win the league without Isak this season. So I could look at Liverpool now and go, well, you guys don't need him. But you could have had him. They still have a chance of having him. But if you came in with a good, real first bid last week, Newcastle would have been under pressure. During that tour, when Isak was misbehaving, if you had dumped serious money down, the ownership would have been tested. They weren't tested with £110 million. And whether you like that or not, the level of self-entitlement you've seen from Anfield Agenda here is exactly how I think the entire transfer saga has been for real at Liverpool. But what happens next at Newcastle? Let me make it clear. Alexander Isak, you need to make a lot of apologies. And when I mean apologise, I don't mean us. Eddie Howe is the first person he should be apologising to. He should be begging to Eddie Howe, I am sorry. Please let me back in with open arms. I want to play for you guys again, because Eddie Howe has been the one all summer long that has continued to back Isak. That manager didn't have to. That manager could have easily thrown Isak under the bus, and yet Eddie Howe has continued to defend Isak's action. He has continued to back Isak everywhere he went. And while Eddie Howe has been strong at times towards Isak, he's always been fair towards Isak. He has continued to back the player. He has continued to keep the door open from the player, even when I did not, and when all our fans did not do that. Eddie Howe has always been the one individual who has said, I want Isak, I want him to stay. The door is always open for that return. And what did that player do? That player continued to go against him. That player continued to take the absolute mick out of Newcastle. And that player, with his agent, especially on the Asia tour, when Eddie Howe was not there at the training ground every day, and when Eddie Howe was not in Newcastle, that was when the player got real confidence. That was when the player went against Newcastle. That was when all the eyes weren't on Isak. We were at the Asia tour. That was when Isak and his agent made their moves. That was when they attempted to force that move. That was when they fully went into trying to get this Liverpool move. All the eggs into one basket, and they did it all during that Asia tour behind Eddie Howe's back. That is the first individual they need to apologise to, because he is the one all summer long that has continued to back Isak. That was the one guy that's had his back. Now the players is the second lot of people they should be apologising to, because those players have had a horrendous pre-season, and while that is also our fault, I'm not going to just blame Isak for our matches not being great, but that is certainly been destructive in the dressing room. Our players are just like us. Of course, they have questions. They're speculating. They're wondering. They're talking about Isak, what's going to happen next. So those players deserve an apology, because they've had a horrendous summer. And that's, while not mainly due to Isak, has certainly been a big part. Isak's disruptive behaviour. And of course, us not having a striker is the real big part. And finally, the fans. Those fans deserve an apology, and bloody hell, you've got a big apology to give to them, because those supporters are the ones that are going to be very critical towards you. They're not as nice as Eddie Howe. They're not as forgiving as Eddie Howe. We don't forget, and they won't ever forget. And Isak has real apologies to give out to those fans, and not any of this Instagram 5 paragraphs media trained written crap. None of this at all. I mean, an actual apology. Sit down with Keith Downey at Sky Sports, or sit down with Newcastle's media team on camera with a microphone and actually apologise. Actually say sorry. Go through your reasoning. We understand your point of view if you want to go to Liverpool, fair enough. But explain why you did those things, and explain why we should forgive you. And apology, of course, we'd like to hear. But let's be honest. If I told you now, what would you rather have? An apology from Isak, or would you rather him score 25 goals this season, scoring against Liverpool and doing the celebration on them? Of course, we as fans would much rather have the apology, to be fair, on the pitch. I actually don't mind as much having the sit-down apology or whatever off the pitch. I would much rather the on-the-pitch apology, and although I've just talked about the possibility there, he does still need to apologise before he comes back. There's no way he can just turn up at Newcastle United match day as if nothing is happening. He has apologies to give out. He has statements to give out. And there's no way he can step foot at Newcastle United again and win back the support of these supporters without actually saying something to the fans, because he has explanations and he has a lot of apologies to give out, because we don't ever forget. We won't ever forget his behaviour, and what he's done this season to Eddie Howe and the players behind the scenes is nothing short of disgraceful. It really is. And I've stayed strong on it. I will continue to stay strong on it. And while, of course, as football fans, to be fair, we can all be a bit fickle. I'm sure after a month of Isak on the pitch, we're all going to be celebrating for the guy again as if nothing has happened. But don't ever forget it. Seriously, don't ever forget it, because next summer, it's going to all start again. We'll have this exact same scenario next summer. And while next summer 100%, in my opinion, is the summer Alexander Isak leaves Newcastle. If it's not this summer, don't forget that, because he should not be able to walk back on that pitch and to be able to play for Newcastle without apologising, because he has a lot of apologies to give out. But of course, he scores a bunch of goals for Newcastle. I'm going to shut up and I'll be celebrating them all. But we don't forget. Seriously, don't forget, because he's been disgraceful at Newcastle this summer. He really has. And do you want to know what the crazy part about this entire saga is? Isak will probably get a new contract. He'll probably get a new contract with an increased pay and a release clause and his way out next summer. He actually probably will get that release clause just so he can stay happy and play for one more season. It's truly incredible that someone can behave this badly behind the scenes and get rewarded, because that's how football is. And while, of course, Liverpool fans watching this video are going to defend Isak and go, well, look at your ownership, look at the broken promises, which, I mean, to be fair, is true. I'm not going to deny that it is true, but that does not excuse Isak's action. He still had a choice, and that was the choice he chose to make. And finally, going away from this video, of course, it is directed towards Liverpool fans as well. Stop defending the player. You'll get Isak next summer. You'll get him when the time is right, but you will not bully Newcastle, and you will not force Newcastle to sell you Isak on a cheap deal. All summer long, you guys on social media have been relentless. And I'm someone who's always respectful towards Liverpool fans. I meet Liverpool fans in real life. I always have a chat whenever I go to Anfield or they come to St James's Park. I always speak well about Liverpool fans. I've got a good experience with them in real life. On social media, Liverpool fans, you are a different type of gravy. You are mental on social media. The amount of DM, private messages, even emails that you guys have been sending me is just been ridiculous. I am simply covering this football club. Yes, I'm a Newcastle United fan, so of course I want what is best for Newcastle United, but I am simply covering our football club, and you guys are relentless. You don't like the fact that you have a football club now who is willing to stand in front of Liverpool and to say no. That's your biggest problem also. You have looked at Newcastle, you have looked us up, and you have looked us down, and you said, well, we are Liverpool, we're going to take Isak. That is the mentality you had all summer long, and you don't like the fact, for once, a football team has said no. For once, a football team has looked at Liverpool and said, well, give us the money or no. You don't like the fact that a football team has actually got the balls on them to be able to stand up to Liverpool and go, well, if you guys aren't going to offer the money we want, we aren't interested. Despite the player acting up behind the scene, you don't like that at all. And whether you guys are going to comment about me or whatever, you don't like the fact that Newcastle has stood up at Liverpool. And that's the biggest thing of the entire summer that we have. No matter what happens, Newcastle has continued to stay firm. Hell, even from this video going out, we may still lose this out. Liverpool may still pump good money on Isak towards the end of the window. If you do that, you can have the player. I say it again, £150 million is what we want. If you put that money down, Isak is yours. We aren't going to hold you back. We aren't going to stop you. If you want to put that money down, Alexander Isak, I will happily hand you over Isak. And while I'm not the ownership of Newcastle, I'm sure they will do the same thing, because we're not going to keep a player who doesn't want to be here. As much as Eddie Howe may disagree with that. Ultimately, if the player wants out, I still feel like we should get him out, but has to be for the right price. And if you don't put the right price in, he's not going anywhere. So that's the message, nice and simple. You can comment, you can say whatever you want about me on social media. It's not going to change my life, but Liverpool, the money's there. You clearly have money. I know you had to say Mark Gay or get a centre-half in. I get that. The money's clearly there for you guys. You can either wait 12 months, pay less than 12 months' time, or you can pay the money now and have him this season. Choice is yours. We're going to be happy keeping Isak or selling him somewhere else or whatever. Whatever Newcastle attempts to do next, I'm sure the club will be happy with the outcome. But you guys have to make a move. No more of this £110 million lowballing crap. Put in the money that Newcastle has said, otherwise look for someone else. It is that simple. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Take care. Let me know your opinions down below. I'll try and read the comments, but it's probably going to be flooded with Liverpool fans, so I might not be able to see them. But anyway, take care, and we will see you all in the next one.